Dear students, today we shall learn about recent changes in the caste system. Okay? As we have already come to know about the meaning, definition and characteristic of caste system, so today we shall learn about recent changes, right? So before that, we should have some idea what is change and why change is necessary, right? So, what I want to say, that change is a social process and it is universal to all type of societies, whether it is African, European, Indian, whatever it may be, but change must come to every type of society. So, any change that affect the social structure, social function or institution, whatever it may be, but it is universal, it is ubiquitous and unavoidable. Simply we cannot avoid the forces of the changes that is affecting society. Okay? So, how can the major institution of the society remain far behind? So, definitely those institutions are going to be affected by various forces of change. As you know, that caste system that occupies a very prominent place in our Indian society. It is regarded as one of the very important social institution which determines social stratifications, and it is with us since ages. So, now what we see, that lots of changes has come into. As I told you that change is the unchanging law of the nature, it must happen. So, despite of the rigid character of the caste system, change has affected our institution. That is how it has also affected the caste system. Okay? So, while discussing about various changes what appeared in the caste system, we must focus on those structural changes as well as the functional changes that has occurred in the caste system. So, what are structural changes that has occurred and how it is different than the functional changes which has occurred in the caste system, that we shall discuss. So, initially a question arises that whether due to such forces of changes, whether caste system is disappearing, disintegrating or it is completely eliminating or weakening in the process, or it is tuning itself how to adjust to the modern forces of the changes, whether it is disappearing or it is adapting new technique to survive in the changing environment. So, on these questions that we shall discuss the changes of the caste system. So, before going into detail about all those changes that has affected caste system, we must focus some of the theoretical background, taking into account of the viewpoint of eminent sociologists, what they have observed about the changes in the caste system. Starting with Harold Gould, as you know that he is also a very prominent sociologist, who says that caste persists in the form of complex network of interest groups in urban communities, and it functions as a system of social strata in the rural community. So, Gould says that caste system persists today, there is no doubt of it, but it persists in two different forms. As in the rural community, it plays that old character, that means it determines the Indian social stratification, it stratifies the whole social fabric on the basis of its hierarchical pattern, the values and the norms of the caste system, which is based on ritual specialization, heredity or occupational specialization. But in the urban community, the character of the caste system is little bit different. It is not that much old. It has accepted new elements into it. It has it has given a new face, you can say it has adapted to the new environment of the modern society, which is represented by the urban community. So, we see that the old pattern of the caste system exists, at the same time some new elements has been added into it. So, we say that caste persists in the form of complex network of interest groups in the urban communities. It has been transformed into an interest group, because here the purpose of caste system is just not to fulfill the ritual or the religious requirement, but to fulfill many political, economic and social interest of respective caste groups. So, the caste groups which is existing in the urban communities, that is more known as an interest group in a complex setup. And Y. Singh, as you know, that is a very famous Indian sociologist, has written a book, Modernization of Indian Tradition, where he mentions that caste exists both as an order and as a phenomena of change. So, again it reflects the dual character of the caste system. At one side we see that the old structure of the caste system is retained, because it is the cultural value of the society that it is very hard to change the inner core of the caste system. So, structurally it will remain as it is. And secondly, when you look at the functional aspect of the caste system with related to some behavioral changes, some phenomenal changes, we find that there are some forces of changes that has affected the internal functioning of the caste system and the behavioral pattern which occur within the caste frame. Okay. Next to moving to next sociologist, Louis Dumont and M.N. Srinivas, and also many other Indian sociologists, foreign sociologists, they have agreed to this point that hierarchical structure of the caste system has remained same. There is no change to the hierarchical structure, though there are certain changes in the sphere of hierarchy that we shall discuss in later. But today what Dumont and Srinivas want to point out, the structural hierarchy is still act as a dominant feature of the caste system, but some functional changes has come into, and which is reflected in the intra-caste relations and inter-caste relation. What is intra-caste relation? The intra-caste relation refers to the relationship between individual members within one particular caste group, right? How do they behave among themselves remaining within one caste group. And what is inter-caste group? When you speak about the interrelationship or behavioral pattern that exists between the members of various caste groups, that is how it constitutes the composite whole. So, in this behavioral aspect, many changes has come into. Okay. Now, coming to the Susan Bale, she has studied caste system deeply by taking into account of the caste system existing in the 18th century till the modern period. So, she had made a very thorough analysis of the process of changes that has occurred within the caste system. What has she experienced? That caste has shifted from a traditional form to the modern form, passing through different phases of the historical growth. So, keeping in pace with the political, economic, social changes, caste has also changed itself in many contexts. So, Bell says that it refers to a sequence of complex but intelligible changes that has affected the entire society. Okay. So, change what has occurred within the caste system, it has occurred the entire social, it has affected the entire social system. So, moving to next, we can discuss about the major changes that has affected the caste system. So, first change that appears before us, the character, the religious character of the caste system. We know that caste system is very much justified in the name of religion. But what is the present picture? Earlier, whatever hierarchy was maintained, the ritual distance was maintained, the related purity pollution concept, the social distance, segregation, everything was justified in the name of religion. And people, they had a very strong fear, if they do not abide to the caste norm, then they may fall into, it may be sinful, and once again they may take birth in the lower caste group. So, that fear is no more with the people of present days. So, there is decreasing importance of religious doctrine and rituals which were justifying caste system earlier. and everything was explained from the religious point of view, whether it's about papa, punya, karma, karma phala, you know. So when a person was suffering for taking birth in a low caste family and was subject to so many discrimination, it was justified by saying that perhaps the person has done something wrong in the past life. So for that matter, he has to suffer in the present life by taking birth in a Dalit family or in a low caste family. But due to growth of scientific temperament, due to emergence of secular ideas, democratic and egalitarian ideas, now people have no faith to accept those age-old sayings that if you follow the caste norm, then my future life in the next birth will be secure. So the faith on such theories, the religious theories, you know, has lost its grip. Now people are, you know, they are changing their outlook. They have become very pragmatic and practical to understand the social situations. Now coming to the next, the change in the social hierarchical pattern. Okay. So social hierarchy is one of the very prominent feature of the caste system. Perhaps this is the only characteristic which gives the total image of the caste system. We cannot understand caste system without social hierarchy. As we have already learned about social hierarchy, which refers to a grading pattern in the society, where the people and their groups are not placed in the equal positions. So on the basis of the status accorded to a particular group, you know, the people, they occupy a particular position or rank in the society. So that is what we understand social hierarchy. So accordingly, the reward, award, you know, resources, privileges are distributed differently to different caste groups or subcaste groups. Now we see that some changes has come into the hierarchical pattern. But what kind of changes? As I have told you while taking the viewpoint of M.N. Srinivas, the change has taken place only in the functional aspect of the caste system, not in the structural aspect of the caste system. So there is change in the functional hierarchy. What is functional hierarchy? That is reflected in the interpersonal relations or inter-caste relations, which is manifested in various forms, either maybe in the practice of rituals, practice of many custom traditions, or you know, adhering to a particular ideology. So there are changes in this what you say, the behavioral aspect, but you say that there is changes in the functional hierarchy. But while talking about the structural hierarchy, it is still intact. That means a Brahmin still holds the superior position in the society, or he is regarded as occupying the topmost position in the social hierarchy, keeping the Shudras at the bottom. And as we know, the hierarchy, as it looks like a pyramid, so that structural hierarchy is still with us. There is no change to it. But what has made the changes in the functional hierarchy? Basically, the modern forces of the modern society, like the political patronage, accessibility to the market, social network, and modern education, so all those forces which has forced people to go through series of the changes, which has brought changes in the life and the lifestyle. So that has affected the behavioral pattern of the caste group members. So we see that there is a new pattern of relationship in the caste system. Okay. So here in this table, you can observe it closely, how different modern factors that decides the hierarchical pattern which was existing in the old society and the hierarchical pattern which is existing in the modern society or the present society. So, what are those factors? Basically, as I told you, the political patronage, that means the political affiliation, how much a caste group or a member of a particular caste group has political connection. So, that determines his status in the society. It is no more the ritual background or the caste background. Similarly, the modern education, accessibility to the market, or if somebody has got a good salaried job, has gone up in the economic ladder, or accessibility to various other type of resources that are available in the society, and accessibility to social network, how much relationship that he has established, how much linkage that he has established with the outside world. These are the factors actually which determine the social position of a person or social position of a group. So, for these emerging new factors, we see the change in the hierarchical pattern of the caste system. Earlier, what was the old hierarchical pattern? It was basically between either between master and servant, or creditor or debtor, or between landlord, tenant. So, basically the class division was between pure group, impure group, sacred group, or not sacred group. So, old hierarchy was dividing society on the basis of ritual line, on the basis of certain kind of social prescription which was binding upon the people. Okay. So, we learned about the old hierarchical pattern, but now we shall learn about the new hierarchical pattern. What changes has come in the new hierarchical pattern? What we see that the new hierarchy which divides the society, that is not on the basis of the old caste norm, rather it is based on the present modern day social factors. So, that is how it divide the society into powerful and powerless, or it divides the society between educated and uneducated, employed, unemployed, semi-employed. Now, these new categories which have come into, that is giving the real picture of the social stratification nowadays. So, caste hierarchy is with us, but the present hierarchy is dominating, or you can say it is coming to the front with more force. Now, moving to the next point of change, the decline in the supremacy of Brahmin. We know that caste system is always understood in the Indian context from the viewpoint of Brahminical supremacy. The Brahmins, they have always enjoyed all power or privileges of the society. They have dictated the societal norms. They have created conditions for the people of the low caste or who are in the Dalit caste group to lead their life. But now this is not the situation. Though Brahminical supremacy still exists in some parts of the country, but we cannot say that Brahminical supremacy is fully under its dominance in the present context. So, today we find that government jobs, modern education, those people who have access to the external world, or who are using the market forces and have come up in the socio-economic ladder, their achievement qualities, which their inner ability which help them to move up in the social economic ladder, that has somehow determining the status of the people. So, it is no more the ritual status of the people which is defining their social status. For that matter, Brahmins are no more regarded as the supreme dictator or holding the supreme position in the society. See, and M. N. Srinivas, in his study, who has done extensive study on the caste system in India, during his research, he has introduced a concept called dominant caste. So, dominant caste, you can say it's a sort of replacement to the upper caste. What was believed that perhaps upper caste people were dominating the locality or the entire social system, but what the present scenario, as M. N. Srinivas has pointed out, that the caste group which is locally dominant, who is locally powerful, influential, who was linked with the political parties, or who holds enough landed property, or who are more educated, they are known as the dominant caste people, and they are exerting enormous influence on their respective locality. So somehow you can say that there is decline in the supremacy of Brahmin caste, but still importance of Brahmins is visible in many parts of the country. Okay. So moving to next, about the caste norms, we see that old caste norms have lost its importance. So in the present scenario, the previous caste norms, which was making the whole caste system rigid and very closed, unchangeable, it is not like that. So what are those changes that has affected the caste norm? We find there are changes with regard to commensality, that means the eating and the drinking habit on the basis of the caste background or caste identity is no more. As kacha food, pakka food, I think that there is nobody who is following it strictly. So there is the importance of kacha food, pakka food, or with regard to what to drink or how to prepare food, or with whom to dine, all those restrictions, that has lost its importance. I am not saying that it is not at all prevalent. In some parts of the country it is still prevalent, but it has lost its previous importance. And there is flexibility in the social intercourse, how the people of different caste groups were mixing with each other with lots of restriction. There was a strict ritual distance between them. They were maintaining, because of maintaining the ritual purity, the untouchability was in practice. But today these are not visible. Of course, though Indian society is very complex, you cannot say with full conformity, or we cannot draw a general statement that untouchability is no more. It is there, but it has become invisible. Untouchability abolition of 1955 or other legislation which has brought different, which has, you can say, broken the barrier between various caste groups. So the various taboos, the restrictions, whatever prescriptions dictated by the caste idea or ideology, those things have lost its importance, and mostly it is because of the growth of individualism. An individual has become conscious of his own worth in the society. He is simply not going to be driven away by the dogmas or the social prescription or the tradition what is being imposed upon him. So now his mind is open. He can think judiciously. He can act, act with a pragmatic way. So it is not possible to go with the old norms. So that growth of individualism is also one of the responsible factor to bring changes in the caste norms. And also the modern means of communications, the new legislation, the importance on the values of egalitarianism, democratic principles, secularism. So those new Western values has also helped a lot to demolish, or you can say to break the barrier between various caste groups, or this is how we understand that old caste norm has lost its importance. Okay. Now moving to the next slide. Caste no longer decides the occupational status of the individual. As we have learned that hereditary occupation is one of the primary characteristic of the caste system, which was saying that a person need not to think about his occupation, that what type of economic activity that he must take up in future. It is already determined and decided at the time of birth. When he is born in a particular caste family, that means he is supposed to take up the ancestral occupation what is given to him. Okay, so there was no choice at all. But is it the case in the present day? Absolutely not. In the present day, that hereditary occupation is hardly found. Very few are following their ancestral occupations. Many have, they have adopted the new job opportunities, the new market conditions. So there is a break, there is a change to hereditary occupation. And another important factor to it is the breaking down of the Jasmani system. You know, the Jasmani system, which refers to the socio-economic interdependence between various caste groups, which was creating a model of division of labor in the village community, is found with lesser importance, or there is a sharp decline in the Jasmani system. So Jasmani system was one of the very important factor to continue with the hereditary occupation. So with the losing importance of the Jasmani system, hereditary occupation is also not found. And also the emerging secular economic order. What is secular economic order? For example, what are jobs and employment opportunities available in the industrial setup, in the other professional or economic setup? It is beyond caste background. It's not that you belong to upper caste family, so you have the right and privilege to be employed. It's not like that. It's open to all. So that secular economic order, urban job opportunity, and the universal education. Education is made free and compulsory for all. So all those are relevant factor which has brought changes in the occupational structure as per the caste norm. So, but what we see, the many sociologists, what they have observed during their study, that this kind of change is mostly applicable to the upper caste and the middle caste, upper caste and the middle caste group. So change is more reflected among upper and middle class caste group than lower caste group. That means lower caste group are not much affected by hereditary, by the changes what has occurred in the occupational structure. So many of them are still following their ancestral occupation because the more opportunities are available for the upper and the middle class people. So they have come out of the caste barrier to explore themselves, and that is how the changes affected more to upper caste people. So, another important change that has taken place in the caste structure, that is related to caste panchayat. That the present day system does not allow caste panchayat to operate, though it is still existing in some part of the country with its previous rigidity. But in most part of the countries, we know that caste panchayat that has been replaced by democratic panchayat, what we say gram panchayat. Okay. So what are the reasons why such changes came into in the judiciary, or you can say in this law and order matter of the caste system? We see that caste is no more our sole decision making authority. Now the caste panchayat has lost its previous dominance and importance in the practical social life due to many reasons. First of all, Constitution has given equal right to everyone, and for any dispute, any problem, disturbances that occur, there is police system, there is judiciary system, which has to take up all these issues and find solution to all the problems. So, and the caste panchayat which was existing during early days, it was biased and prejudiced by the upper caste norm. It was mostly going in favor of the upper caste people. Whenever there was any kind of violation of the caste norm, the punishment was very lighter. You can say punishment was just for the namesake to the upper caste people, but for the lower caste people the punishment was harsh. So it was neither democratic, it was not judicious. So people with when they started to learn about their reality, when they attained higher education, when they got the support of the constitutional laws to protect their rights, so eventually caste panchayat lost its importance because of more faith on the court of law for equality of justice. And another important change what we see with regard to endogamous marriage. That means endogamy is no more functioning with the previous rigidity. What is endogamy? We have already learned the marriage within one own caste group or marriage within one's own subcaste group. So, what we see that there is emergence of individual choices. An educated young man or young woman want to take decision for her future life. He or she is not ready to compromise with the decision of his family members, what is being imposed upon them. So, as a result, when he is working outside or pursuing his higher education in an educational institution and come in contact with a person of that suits to his mentality or his ideology, then they decide to marry each other despite of the caste differences. And the Hindu Marriage Act 1955, Special Marriage Act 1954 allowed such kind of intercaste marriages. So, we see there is increasing rate of intercaste marriages because of emerging individual choices. And also in the families, parents nowadays are giving consent to the choice of their choices of their youngsters. They are not imposing their ideas. Okay. Another example would be the matrimonial websites or the open advertisement through newspaper. In some cases, you might have observed that in some advertisement columns, there is there is some certain condition without caste preferences. So, whoever fulfill the requirements is welcome, not necessary that they must belong to one particular caste group or the same caste group. So, these changes are quite observable in the modern society. So, moving to next, emergence of dominant caste. I have already told you about the concept dominant caste, the way M.N. Srinivas has introduced. So, it is no more based on the ritual status. What is the prime characteristic of dominant caste? It is no more based on ritual status. So, ritual status basically given to the upper caste people. So, here dominant caste simply signify that in a particular locality, upper caste not necessarily to be dominant. Even the upper caste exists, they may take a back seat, and a particular caste group who is ritually behind the upper caste may take the front seat, may dominate in his locality, provided that dominant caste fulfill those following conditions. What are those? They must have a numerical strength. The population of that particular caste group must be enough. Then they must have modern education, must have access to modern education. Many of them must have employed in government jobs, and they must have they must have landed property. And that, as in the present world, political nexus is very important. So, those who have economic strength, who have numerical strength, who have knowledge as strength, so they have very good access to the political resources or political power. So, the people of that caste group automatically become dominant in that area. So, there are lots of instances what M.N. Srinivas has cited, that not in all part of the country Brahmins are dominant, not the upper caste people are dominant. In some cases, the intermediary caste groups, they have also shown their dominance in their respective areas, like Patidars in the Gujarat, Reddys in Andhra Pradesh, Khandait in Odisha, Thakur in North India. Those caste groups are regarded as dominant caste group. You must be knowing that F.G. Bailey has studied a lot on the Khandait caste group in Odisha. So, that is how we come to know that Khandait, they enjoy lots of enjoy their dominance in a state. Okay. Moving to next, interplay of caste and politics. This is very important to understand. When you say that caste system has lost its ritual importance, that means it has adopted more political and economic power into it. So, each caste group has transformed into an interest group. What do you mean by interest groups? A group which aims to fulfill its various interests, whether it's political, economic, whatever it may be. Okay. Now the focus on the to maintain the religious purity, focus on to maintain the rituality is hardly found. More if a person want to identify himself as upper caste or lower caste, it is basically for the political gain or for the economic gain. So there is a intermixture of caste and politics, and in the grassroots politics, caste is very prominent. You might have observed that when election come, how politicians, they move to the villages, to the slums, to the local people, and mostly when they meet the grassroots people at the grassroots level, that caste identity, that becomes an instrument or weapon for them. So caste is very much used in the grassroots politics just to captivate the mind of the people, because people are still oriented to their caste identity, to their caste background. So this is how we see the intermixture of caste and politics. So because politics is very important in the present days, what is politics after all? To holding some amount of power, right? So the Dalit caste group, the backward caste group, they gradually realized if they become united, they form an organization, then their interest will be protected. So they started to form various organization, association, coalitions. Okay, so this has led to power politics. They have entered into battlefield of politics. So now we see that mostly other backward classes, Dalit groups, they have identified themselves through a collective forming, that is through political organizations. And this kind of intermixture of caste and politics is like a double-edged sword. It has pros as well as cons. So if you look at the positive benefit, of course, the political platform has become a voice of the untouchables, has become you can say a window for the deprived section. But at the same time, we feel that there is a nasty game because of the intermixture of caste and politics. So these two fundamental outcomes. One is the politicization of the caste system, how the caste issues are being politicized, adding more color and vibes into it, so that the innocent, simple-minded people will be, will be motivated by the politicians who have wrong motive. And another effect is the casteism in politics, because still caste holds that much significance in our country. So casteism is much felt in the present day politics. As a result, we find there are many political parties on the basis of caste line, like Bahujan Samajwadi Party, there are many political organizations, mostly are in the southern part of the country, and the aim is just to capture power. It not just to think about the benefit of their caste community, it is to maintain power. And we see that it's not a very good healthy practice for a democratic country like India. So moving to next. So these are the pictures what you can focus on. Like the first picture, the picture of Mayawati, who, as you know, that she has formed, she is the leader of a political caste-based political party. And the second picture, where you see a political leader addressing the common man, and the political leader addressing the common man on the basis of the caste line. So caste has become a weapon, an instrument in the hand of political leaders to motivate common people, to motivate the mass, because the common man is very much emotional. He does not understand what is the actual reality. So whatever promises are given by those leaders at the time of election, he simply takes for granted and he says perhaps this is the truth. So it is very easy to motivate people on the basis of the religion, in the name of religion or in the name of caste. This is how it is happening. But the pathetic part of it is that when caste-based political party holds power, they fail to give justice to all type of people. Their focus is limited to one section of the people. So somehow it's not healthy for the democratic functioning of the political system. And the third picture that speaks about a political organization, and this is known as Nikhila Odisha Kshatriya Kranti Morcha. Okay, this caste based organization, which is an example of what you say, the raging political consciousness among a particular caste group. As this is an upper caste organization. Similarly, there are many lower caste organizations. So all those caste based organizations basically aim to fulfill all those requirements, interests of the members of their own party. Okay. So moving to next, increasing number of caste conflict. So there is we know there are lots of awareness among the people due to modern education, due to improved legislation, or due to awareness campaigning. So this has somehow affected people to think about their life, new democratic and egalitarian values. So that increasing awareness among the low caste people has made them, conscious of their own right. So now they are not ready to accept the system the way it was being imposed upon them. So they are coming to the front, fighting for their cause, and their voice is also presented in a collective platform. And many such instances, like the anti-Brahminism movement which occurred in South, started by the Dalit groups. So gradually it has taken a political form. So there are thousands, there are hundreds of examples which speaks about this kind of movement which has taken place by the low caste members, low caste organization. Then increase of caste violence in North India is also another harsh reality. It's not at all a healthy one, but what happens, because the people of the people who are in the bottom, now they are educated, they gradually getting knowledge of the reality. So they have started to raise their voice, but it is not acceptable to the people of the upper caste group. So it is very prominent and clear in the northern part of the India, where caste dominates in the every sphere of their social life. So when the low caste people or the people of the Dalit group, they want to raise their voice, they are brutally suppressed, and this leads to caste violence. So there are a number of such incidents of caste violence, and there are instances of caste rivalries, caste conflict between various caste groups. Again, the motive is very political and economic. It is not ritual and religious, as we have discussed with the beginning of the class, that caste has changed its color. It's not religious or ritual anymore. It's more political and economic oriented. So caste rivalry, which is taking place nowadays in our society, it is also based on this political and economic interest. Some of the examples like Kamars and Reddys in Andhra Pradesh, or the rivalry between Lingayats and Ukaligas in Mysore, or Rajput and the rivalry between Rajput and Bhumihar in Bihar. Okay. So there are many parts of the country where those dominant caste groups, they are fighting with each other just to hold their position. So what we came to know about the caste rivalry, this simply indicates that low caste group members, they are gradually understanding their self-worth, and they are much oriented towards the dignity of life. So as a result, such reactions are coming out, but most important thing is that there should be a change in the mindset of the upper caste people. Unless we invite changes in all sphere of the society, we cannot expect a peaceful, healthy society, right? Though caste conflict is required, but it must have its limit. Limit. Okay. Now coming, let me share the images with you. In the first image, what does it show? That the man holding a banner showing that casteism is man-made, okay, and which must be broken. Casteism is a man-made barrier, let's break it, okay. So this shows the gradually emerging caste consciousness among the low caste people, because they also need a dignity of life. And the second picture, you see the people how with full of force, energy, they are holding the picture of Baba Saheb Ambedkar. So that symbolizes their strength, that symbolizes their awareness, how they are taking a stand to move up in the social system. Now coming to the next, now these are some of the pictures. The first picture that is showing caste conflict, because of the mutual antagonism between various caste groups. It often comes out in a violent form. So, and the second picture, where the upper caste people, they are protesting against reservation, because somehow as they felt that reservation as a policy is hampering their interest. So each caste group, whether it is upper caste or lower caste, is coming to front in a collective way through their organization to put forth their demand, but it must not cross the limit. It must not be, must not take a violent form. Okay. Moving to next, about the factor responsible for the change. So far, we discussed about whatever changes that has affected in the structure of the caste system as well as in the function of the caste system. As we came to know that most of the changes that has occurred in the behavioral aspect, in the ritual pattern, or in with regard to the values or the caste norms, what has brought those changes? This is important to understand, or what are those factors which has brought changes in the caste system. The most prominent factor is the modern education. Since independence, education is being given much more importance irrespective of caste or religious or racial background. So when people of the low caste or who are at the bottom strata of the society, they attend education, they understand their stand in the society, they become closer to the social reality. So that helps to bring more awareness and consciousness for themselves, and this helps them to fight against any sort of social injustice that is being imposed upon them. Similarly, the forces of industrialization and urbanization, which has brought massive changes in the economic front, in the cultural front, because it has given rise to more job opportunities or employment. It has generated many employments. So people from different caste background, they have rushed to urban or city centers. What we say, it has led to migration in seek of their job, and for where it is not possible to maintain that ritual distance. So increasing amount of urbanization or industrialization somehow has broken the barrier, the ritual barrier between various caste groups, and in the process modern means of transport and communication has helped a lot. So it's not possible to maintain that ritual purity or distance when you are living in a crowd, when the people from different corners of the country with different cultural, caste or religious background, they have come over at one place and living together. Similarly, increase in the importance of market economy and wealth. As in the present context, it is not the salvation, moksha or the karma, papa, punya, those words have least significance. The present day society is more focused on survival issues, on the issues of sustenance, how to live with dignity, what resources should be available so that the life would be secured. So more focus on the material comfort, wealth, income, economy, more overall when you speak about quality of life, those things have gradually have diminished the values of the caste norms. And the new laws new social movements, the emergence of class structure, all those new things that has that has been incorporated or that has come into the modern society, that has brought changes in the age-old caste norm. And two important processes like Sanskritization and Westernization, similarly secularization, democratization, all those social processes has helped people to move towards maintaining or establishing an egalitarian society, or society which will be free from any sort of discrimination. So, Sanskritization, though it has brought some functional changes in the caste system, but M. Srinivas says that the structural hierarchy still intact. However, these forces of the modern society are gradually inviting changes in the caste system. Okay. So, today we learned about the various changes of the caste system. So, let us sum up. So, how can you conclude now? So, while coming to the conclusion, we must understand that caste system is not in the process of abolition, rather making adequate adjustment with the modern forces of the change. So, it is the reality that we must accept, that caste system is not going to be abolished. It will remain maybe for times to come, but caste is so cleverly designed that like a chameleon, it changes its culture, it changes its color, it tuned to the changing circumstances of the society. So, instead of getting eliminated, it is strengthening its base by adopting new changes into it. But those changes are not giving focus on the religious or the ritual aspect, rather it is giving more focus on the political and economic aspect. So, present caste operate more as an interest group. The market driven new economy, the rise of caste identity, access to quality education, and various governmental schemes and provisions to empower Dalit people, the low caste people, have helped a lot to make this change possible. So, despite of various measures, caste inequality still exists in the modern India as a form of exclusion and exploitation. So, this part that we must understand, that though we have achieved a lot, lots of changes has taken place in the caste system. It has helped the Dalit people to raise their voice, to come up in the socio-economic ladder, but still the social exclusion, the exploitation that still persists in the country. It is because of the upper caste mentality, the mindset, which has remained unchanged. When we see, when you look at the governmental provision, the constitutional provisions, these are very supportive, but with this we cannot expect the total change. In order to bring a total change towards establishing an egalitarian, peaceful social order, first of all, we must emphasize on the perceptual change, must emphasize on bringing awareness among the people of various caste groups, not simply bringing awareness among the people of the Dalit or the lower caste group, also to bring awareness among the higher caste members, okay, from all section of the people, so that we can build up a healthy society. So, this is how we need to conclude here. I hope the concept is understood. Thank you all.